Middle East and Africa.
Politics in Saudi Arabia. The prickly prince. Mohammed bin Salman cracks down on his perceived opponents.
These are jittery times in Saudi Arabia, an absolute monarchy that prefers to script its political changes many years in advance. Over the past 2 weeks, police have arrested dozens of public figures who seem to have little in common. The most prominent is Salman al-Ouda, a popular cleric who dispenses religious advice to his 14 million followers on Twitter. But the list also reportedly includes writers, human rights activists, and even officials from the Justice Ministry. On September 11th, Mr. Ouda's brother, Khalid, criticised his arrest on Twitter. "It has revealed the size of the demagoguery we enjoy." The authorities soon rounded him up too. The kingdom's motives, as ever, are opaque. The arrests came ahead of September 15th, when a loose coalition of activists had called for protests to demand more political freedom. The appointed date came and went quietly, in part because of a heavy police presence on city streets. Saudi officials hinted that it was a foreign plot organised by the banned Muslim Brotherhood. One commentator called the arrests a campaign to cleanse state institutions. Social media were abuzz with rumours that King Salman, 81, was planning to abdicate. Until this summer, the king's designated successor was Mohammed bin Nayef, a respected ex-interior minister. But in June the king upended the order of succession and installed his own son, Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS as he is called, as heir. Just 32, he assumed his first big public role in 2015 when he became defence minister. Since then he has overseen a ruinous war in neighbouring Yemen and organised a boycott of Qatar, which Saudi Arabia accuses of supporting terrorists and being too cosy with Iran. The boycott has caused economic pain across the Gulf, but so far has not forced the gas-rich emirate to make any concessions. Most of the detainees either opposed the effort or kept silent. The Interior Ministry has urged Saudis to report fellow citizens who share such extremist ideas online. MBS has a wide-ranging agenda to reform his country. He wants to reduce its dependence on oil, cut generous handouts, and sell off part of Saudi Aramco, the state-owned energy giant, to create a sovereign wealth fund. He also wants to loosen the strictures on Saudi culture, opening cinemas, for example, in a kingdom where they are banned. These are controversial changes. They have forced pampered Saudis to tighten their belts and infuriated religious conservatives. One of the men arrested this month, Essam al-Zamil, had written critically about the Aramco plan. For all his ambition, MBS has been noticeably vague on one issue, politics. Political parties are banned in Saudi Arabia and speech is restricted. He has shown no interest in changing that. Mr. Ouda is hardly the kingdom's most traditional voice. Dozens of other clerics pose a bigger threat to the Crown Prince's cultural reforms. Yet they remain free. The only difference they have is that they believe in total obedience to the ruler and see that as a religious duty, says Jamal Khashoggi, a veteran Saudi journalist. Mr. Ouda does not. He was a leader of the Sahwa awakening in the 1990s, an Islamist movement that pushed for political changes. Decades later, he wrote a book that praised the Arab revolutions of 2011. It was banned. Some of the detainees will probably be released, and the crackdown may not be necessary. Apart from some grousing on social media, there has been little dissent over the Crown Prince's policies. Nobody is challenging him. The Saudi newspapers are full of praise for his efforts, says Mr. Khashoggi, who fears he too might be arrested if he returns from America. It's just another impulsive action, he says.